Roll YouTube, Ronin Kaze, take number 2, just spitting that game. But I screwed up the beginning before I didn't screw it up. Hey, we're going to talk about some stuff today. Basically, I want to talk to you about context and why it matters. It's a little out of order than what I just said, but I'm kind of got to the main point. As you know, I really don't write scripts for all this. I think you deserve better than that. Either I know the stuff or I don't. That's why sometimes you might hear me grasping at examples or some historical stuff, because I don't look it up all the time unless it's real poignant, unless it's really needed to make a point for that. And one thing is, there's a lot of YouTubes that you might consume, right? One of the great things now, when I was growing up, probably when I was 20, there was a book called, I forget what it's called, but it was about how we're moving to a service society. They talked about how television, there'd be 500 channels. We have more than that now. You have YouTube, you have a whole lot of channels, right? Way more than 500. And with that, you get a lot of people that will take shortcuts and will try to get, they have following, whether they bought users or bought likes or did whatever, and they become big megaphones, whether they're technical, political, or whatever. And a lot of times they'll talk to you without really using the stuff. For example, on technical side, when someone gives a review of a machine that they haven't used, they unboxed it, booted up, and then that's not using the machine. You got to use a machine for about a month for you to get, through it. But if they used it for a month, how often could they do, right? That would be really tough for a real reviewer to give you a review every week, right? They'd have to be in different stages. It would be the whole thing. Conversely, about software, the same thing. What you're getting from me, like Linux, I'm using it. I switched everything over to Cachy. Then what I promised you is I'm going to use other rolling releases. So I have OpenSUSE Tumbleweed on Asus VT502 laptop. And then I tried to put more rolling releases on my other Alienware R13 laptop, but it had a hard time loading it. So there was a video where I said, man, some of these ISOs don't even work. They work in virtual machines, but they don't work on all the hardware. And that's all okay, because those people are doing their best. But context matters. When I'm giving you recommendations, I'm using it. I'm not afraid to give you the recommendation, and the proof's in the pudding. And I told you about the good, the bad, the ugly. But really where this is kind of aimed at, what I was watching a video today where someone was giving an example of a societal thing, and they just claim numbers, and they have no basis for the numbers, no factual kind of thing. And what I've realized, this is in my work life, you can imagine, I ended up being a VP of operations at a company, and you can imagine when people would come up and make some claims to me, right? I always cut them on these two things. One, what's the percentage, and what's the absolute number? Because that gives you the context for what it means. This software is 100% infallible. Okay, out of how many installations do you have? We're going to buy the software. We're going to invest $10,000 in your software. How many other customers do you have? Well, we really only have 2 other customers, and one of them is our sister company. Well, I'm not going to bet my career on that kind of stuff. I need more proof. If you make statements about society, I don't know if this is true or not anymore. There was one time where they said that 50% of divorces in America end in a divorce, and second marriages end up in like a 66% of divorce. I don't know if those are true, but for example, that's something you should find out. Someone I knew asked YouTube, if you were married for X amount of years, does that mean that, is that pretty good? And YouTube went, oh, that's really good. If you were married that long, if 50% of the marriages end in divorce, then that means 50% are not lasting X amount of years. Sorry, so there's no context to that. So in all these things that you're seeing on the internet, they should give you context. If they don't give you both numbers, in the United States, the job creation has gone up 10%. 10% over last month, which was negative 14,000 jobs. Or conversely, if they grew 200,000 jobs, we have a 1% increase. I'd rather have 1% increase of 200,000 than a 10% increase of negative, right? See what I'm saying? If you have both numbers, there's context. If people don't give you both numbers, the percentage and then the absolute number, that's less than YouTube. If someone makes recommendations to you about software, they don't use the software. If they won't stand by their recommendations, it's useless. Okay, this is the final part of Tidal Basin. It's on Legendary. There's 3 turrets that have generators. The thing in this, you got to knock out the generators. Part of when you have Vile Jammer, when you have a jammer, you can shut down those generators for a second. There's lasers. Like you shut down the lasers, YouTube. So I have that and I have a decoy. The lasers get tricked by the decoy and I can shut them out. So right here, I'm popping it. Now the lasers are down that were affected by the jam. We're going to go to the first generator. We're going to knock it out right there, that yellow part. We do that fast. I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to throw, you can see the laser trying to get me. I'm going to throw my decoy. The laser goes for decoy. Now I'm going to pop the jammer to not shut that down. I'm going to go hide and I'm going to try to hit the yellow from right here. I got to kill other people, right? I've done this so many times, I can tell you the different strategies. Not I think about it, not I read about it, doing some, Danielson. I also have had to take other people's ideas, right? So I'm not just sitting here alone, right? I'm doing continuous improvement, right? So the other thing in the context matters. I'm continually doing these and I'm trying to find better ways. If you looked over the history of my videos, you can see that we move in a lot different ways than when I first did this. So there's been an evolution in the division over time of the strategies. And hopefully I've conveyed that to you. About Linux, right? Empirical. One of the things in a couple videos I tried to show you how much adoption of Linux was out there. And what I found was amazing. It's really Android has adopted the most. There's the laser YouTube. That should have been the thumbnail, YouTube. That's a failure on your boy's part. The adoption of Android's a lot, but of Linux is not so much. But there's more questions. There's not a lot of data on that to tell you the kind of question I've asked. So what other questions would you have asked, Ronin? Of the amount of installations in the United States, how many are there Linux? How many Linux are on servers? Right, so that's some contextual stuff. Would that lower the number on desktops? Then you got to ask yourself why. So there's a couple of videos I've gone on here on my webpage. I have a whole big dissertation on problem solving. And the main thing is why. You got to ask why things are why they are. The point of this channel is not everything can be explained. Some things just kind of are. They'll never come together. You can't get both sides to agree on something. They're irreconcilable. You can't bring them together. Name of the channel, YouTube. But you're living in this life. You have a lot of data coming at you. The first thing is, it doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater, but people can't give you both parts of the number, the absolute and the percentage. Chances are that's not good data. It's not the whole story. And they're trying to shade the story. If people could sell you on anything, they would, right? If selling worked, I would just sell you the most expensive product to everyone, whether they could afford it or not, right? That's not how it works. The buyer has some culpability in this, has some responsibility in this. You're the buyer of ideas, YouTube. So I'm just giving you tools to be more discerning, to be more discriminating when that word meant something else than what it means now. Discriminating means, oh, I'm going to pick this over this for like these reasons, right? That's part of the English. But as we narrow the definitions of words, we get into some of these problems. And if you don't know how to use words, shouldn't use those words if you don't know what the words mean. YouTube. Sorry to be so preachy today. But there's a lot of videos. So I saw another video about DNS servers. You should switch DNS servers. The technical person ended up in the article, well, I can't make any recommendations, and there's a lot for, it depends on your situation, YouTube. Then what good is the article? Because I clicked on it with your clickbaiting title, but you didn't tell me I have no better use. You've just listed out, which I could have just said, hey, Gemini, give me a list of all the, hopefully it doesn't talk. Give me a list of all the DNS and what they're good for. That's no better. And I understand some people's jobs are do content, but do a better job, people. Because you're probably trying to do your job to keep your job and to get more things, so do a better job at it. That's a Chunga. He has a minigun, and then he has that. Those little stars cause a bleed when they hit you. This build I have is a vial jammer. It has a China Light chest piece and a China Light backpack. And the backpack has, spread any status effects within 8 meters. The chest piece has Unbreakable. Unbreakable is once they break your armor, you don't die. It just refills it to 95%. That's kind of like my bellwether. Like if that goes off, the canary has died. The rest of the pieces are improvised, which means I crafted them. And the reason why improvised pieces are great for legendaries is they have an extra spot where you can put a mod in. And so I have 6 mods. They're all blue. They're all 12% yellow person damage reduction. In this build, I'm a survival mode, so I have like 80% yellows damage reduction. So I know when a yellow person is coming at me, which signifies they're like the highest level of enemy, they're not going to kill me. The purples, YouTube, will kill me. So you kill the purples first with this kind of build. And the reds are the reds. This is where my keyboard, my wireless keyboard, died on me. The other thing in Tidal Basin, if you're survival, you get inflammatory grenades, burning grenades. You throw those, that's the spawn point right there. So you throw the grenades down there, and then it provides a status effect, which then spreads, that stops their movement up that ladder. And I put the decoy out there all the time to keep people from running up here. Right, that's the strategy. And with this build, pretty much in any group, it's pretty hard to kill me. I can get people up, and the yellow's not going to kill me. So my job in this is continually, every 10 or 12 seconds. It's a little bit longer when I have this build. Maybe it's 15, 16 seconds. You're putting out your vial jammer, which also does damage because the vial mask, if someone gets a status effect, it causes a 10-second, it's about $600,000, 600,000 points of damage, which percentage-wise isn't that great because we're on legendary, but it pushes them. The other thing in the division is you always got to be putting out pressure to the enemy. So I'm going to run out here. You can see there's 3. There's my decoy, and now here's me. I got to put that grenade, or the guy with the grenade over his head, I'm trying to put him down because he's putting a lot of pressure on us. So I might chase him a little bit. This gun I'm using, every time I hit my status effect, it causes a poison or more status effects on them if I've hit enough people with the gun. See, they're coming out of there. They're not even going to bother with me because I'm not aggroing them. And then I rinse and repeat, and I just go save people, constantly put this up there, and just wait for my cooldowns. So here's the context for how to play Legendary. Tidal Basin, one of the hardest ones, and I'm showing you how to do it, and I'm giving you the rationale. Why should you use Linux? If you're on Windows 10, there's no reason not to use Linux. You got to learn new software anyways. Go with Linux. Don't go with Zorn. If you're a gamer, don't go with Zorn. Go with CachyOS. Because on all these softwares, you got to install Steam, and Proton, and it's all done for you in Cachy. If you're a gamer, CachyOS. Everything's not perfect, but it's better than. You're going to learn something new. You're going to use KDE. So what do you got to do if you're going to switch to Linux? What am I using my computer for? Let me look at what window manager I like best. I used to talk about package manager. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. If you're a gamer, you're getting Cachy. if you're watching any of these videos where people are telling you about this about society and they give you some number, they're not giving you the absolute number. When I first started this channel back, I'd listened to someone that's saying that fentanyl deaths were X amount. So I looked up, tells you right on CDC what the fentanyl deaths were. And yeah, they did rise. They rose under both everyone, right? They rose under President Trump, then under President Biden. I'm going to tell you this about the last little quick thing. I was in the Coast Guard. We used to do interdiction in the Caribbean. Do you think it'd be better to send stuff up on a speedboat or on a container? How many containers are on each one of those ships? Who's supposed to check the containers when they get in the port? Guess what organization? That's U.S. Coast Guard. Guess how many they check? So your homework for this weekend is for you to put things in perspective. How many containers are inspected? And I think it's less than 1%. So if you don't think it's easy to get things into the country by container. Now, if we just said, hey, and this is why we didn't say it, we want to prevent other countries from using these resources that are in our hemisphere because they're using that against us. Who's going to argue with that? Well, the people that you're trying to deny those are, so you got to be somewhat secret. So I don't know what to think, YouTube. All I'm asking, that context matters. Hope you have a wonderful day. This is Ronin Kaze. Sorry if it was a little too political. Bye, YouTube.